I show up for myself in a way that I wish a man would? Because sometimes you got to do it for the one you love, and in this case, it's yourself. Welcome back to another episode of Sistervention. If you're new here, I'm your host, Crystal Chanel, and in this podcast, we have the hard conversations that you may not be ready to hear, but too bad, because we are having them. And today is all about self-love. If you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I will say it every episode. I am so thankful for every listener or viewer. If you watch us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And if you do listen, rate the podcast, leave us a comment, and share it with a sis who may need to hear this. So before I dive into the episode, I'm going to lay down the framework. This is not just another episode about going on solo dates and setting boundaries. No, we're getting real today. We're getting real about what it actually takes to love yourself, choose yourself over temporary company, and really sit with your thoughts and figure out who do you need to become to get to the next step. I know Valentine's Day is coming up. I felt like this was the perfect time to do this episode. And let's be real. If you're single, it's hard, especially on Instagram and TikTok, watching everyone, get all the love that you feel like you deserve. But I'm here to tell you it's not that bad, and I'm gonna walk you through it, okay? So let's get started. First off, let's be honest. Being single on Valentine's Day can absolutely suck. And I don't care how strong and independent you are, if you're constantly doom scrolling and seeing everyone living the life that you feel like you deserve, it could be a lot, okay? But I'm here to tell you that it's much better to be alone than settle for a love that you don't actually deserve. So whether you're feeling it or you're not, whether you're single, in a relationship, healing, or married, don't worry, this podcast is for everyone. If you don't have someone, you don't have to pretend you do not care. But what you do have to do is make sure that you don't run back to something that no longer serves you out of loneliness or the daunting day of Valentine's Day. To be honest, I love just spending time by myself, loving on myself. So for me, every day is Valentine's Day. But if you're someone who's really daunting the 14th, this podcast is for you. And if you're also someone who has been waiting and kind of trying to figure out your next step, maybe in your relationship, are your needs really being met? This is also for you. Because let's be real, how many times have you ran back to someone who you know that they weren't necessarily a good person or they didn't treat you the best, but it was just better to be with them than be alone? Sis, no more of that. That is what we are getting rid of today. To kick things off, I want to talk about the person who always comes back when it's convenient for them. I think it's so easy to get caught up in a person who loves to spin the block, especially because, let's be real, it's easier to just pick up where you left off than start over. But honestly, I'm not saying that people cannot change, because I know we all love a good redemption story. But why are they back? Did they run out of options? Did you run out of options? What was the reason why y'all stopped talking the first time? I think it's really important when people do spin the block, because it is so easy to convince yourself, this was God's timing. This is the universe. Oh my God, I knew we were meant to be together. Were you? I'm not really convinced on second chances. I think they should definitely be earned. And I've seen great success stories, but I've also seen people get hurt the same way they got hurt the first time. And this is why we're here, sis. We're having the Sistervention today. No more spinning the block, okay? If they couldn't figure out why you were good enough the first time, they had to go out there and see that there was nothing else out there. I don't know. Something about it just screams, you should have valued me the first time. So I'm not saying that people don't deserve second chances, but what I am saying is that you really need to evaluate and make sure whoever spins the block earns that second chance. And if you're the one spinning the block, I'm here to tell you, no. Stop spinning the block. I might get I don't want to get Sierra 7 on you guys, but it's just like, would you go throw up? If someone threw up and put it on the floor, would you go and try to eat that? Like, no, you wouldn't. Like, that is what spinning the block is to me. Like, I know that's real dramatic, but I mean, sometimes you got to put it in terms where y'all could really get it. No, like, it's already done. You've already gotten rid of that food. We don't want to go back and eat it. Okay, moving on. A lot of us are out here dating with no plan and really no self-love. And I hate to say it, but when you hear the horrors of the dating stories, the first thing I always think of is like, where is this girl's love for herself? Sometimes you just have to understand that you deserve more. And it may feel crazy that everyone you've encountered just wasn't good enough, but that's just the truth. A lot of people aren't going to be good enough. I always say, thank God you really only need one, because if we had to have multiple and we're struggling to get the one, I mean, Jesus Christ. But you deserve a love that is reflective of what you're willing to give, who you are. And that all starts with loving yourself first. You set the tone for how other people are going to treat you. So if you want the nice experiences, take yourself out on the nice experiences. So that way you're not so excited when someone else does something for you. It's natural. It's something you already do. It's a standard now. It's what has to happen in order to get your attention. Mistaking attention for validation is probably the worst thing you could do. Too many times when we're lacking self-love, we just are vying for the attention and the validation of whoever that partner may be. And I read something one day that talked about how a lot of times when you are seeking validation from someone who you think is up here, it's because it'll help you think that you're up here. No. You need to think that you're up here in your own mind. Like, you can't wait for, oh, I got a man who's rich, so now I believe that I can get a rich man. Or, oh, I got a man who treats me really good, so now I believe that everyone should treat me really good. No, you should believe that everyone should treat you really good because you treat yourself really good. And that's just the standard you set for yourself. Inconsistency is another one that we got to talk through, because too often times people are breadcrumbing you and you're just picking up the crumbs. If someone cannot be consistent, they do not deserve your energy. And I'm not really one for matching energy. I believe that you should be able to love wholeheartedly and you shouldn't have to play mind games. But unfortunately, that's just where we're at. So if someone's being inconsistent with you, I can't say that you should really be following up consistently with them. Leave them folks right where they are at. Inconsistency is nothing more but a big slap in the face. I'm sorry. If you cannot stay consistent enough to check in with me, plan date, ask how my day was, bye. Loving yourself is about setting these standards and sticking to them. And honestly, it could be different for everyone, but there are just some baseline things like consistency and follow through and, emotional intelligence that just have to be there. There's just certain markers that people have to hit. And also, you should be requiring these for yourself. Like, you should be able to consistently show up for yourself. You should be able to consistently follow through on the promises you make to yourself. You should be able to give yourself these experiences. You should be able to talk to yourself kindly. I don't know what everyone's love language is. Mine is acts of service and quality time. I understand that if I like you, I'm going to want to spend a lot of time with you. It's quality time, not quantity time. I don't need to be under your skin 24/7. But the time that we do spend together, I want your full undivided attention. If someone can't give me that, I'm gone, because I love myself too much and I know myself too well to go in situations that I know are really just aren't going to work out. I also want to talk to my girls who love to just wait it out and let the guy figure it out, or whoever you're dating figure it out. And you just sit and flap in the wings. You have no clue what's going on. You have no ownership of your own emotions and your feelings. You're scared to speak up. You have no clue where this is going. Stop wasting your time. Girls who love themselves don't waste their own time, and they don't let anyone waste their time. I'm not saying that you have to cut everybody off quick, fast, in a hurry. That's something I'm working on, because I will cut you off immediately. But I'm just saying, like, if you really love yourself, you value your own time. And it's not about, oh, I didn't get married in 3 months. No, that's not what we're doing. I want everyone to take a beat. But what you need to do is understand, like, where is my energy being dedicated to? And is this really worth my time? What am I giving? What am I receiving? Because too often we pour into situations that we're not really getting anything out of. That goes for business, relationships, friendships, family, the whole nine. But again, lover girls, I know everyone says they're a lover girl, but I'm here to tell you, lover girls love themselves first. Self-love is messy. It's not always easy or cute. It's sitting in your feelings and not always numbing them with attention. Sometimes you have to have those moments of isolation and allow yourself to really learn who you are. Too often we're shaped by these relationships, and you have to think every time you deal with someone, they change you just a little bit. And if you've had a ton of bad experiences, your outlook on love is totally shaped by all these people who never even should have had that type of power over you anyway. So sis, if you don't have someone this Valentine's Day, use this time to love yourself a little harder and ask the hard questions. The first question I challenge you to ask yourself is, where am I settling in life? And again, this doesn't have to just be romantically. It can be in friendships, romantic relationships, at work, with family members, but what area, or even just on your own self-preservation, where are you settling in your life? The second question you need to ask yourself is, why do I crave love from people who do not deserve it? If this is you, I know this may get uncomfortable, but really ask yourself. And the third question, how can I show up for myself in a way that I wish a man would? Because sometimes you got to do it for the one you love. And in this case, it's yourself. Because sis, the relationship you have with yourself actually sets the tone for all the other relationships in your life. When you love yourself, you don't have to beg, chase, or settle for anything. The love you want will automatically be attracted to you. Now, I know I've been talking to my single ladies, but if you're in a relationship, this portion is for you. Because just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that you're fulfilled, your needs are being met, and you're ultimately even happy. I know a lot of my girls are trying to get the ring. You've been in the relationship for a few years, and you may need to ask yourself some hard questions as well. Are you in a relationship that adds to your life, or would you rather just not be lonely? Another question to ask yourself is, do you feel chosen daily? I know we're getting deep here, but just stay with me. Another question is, do you still have your individuality in your relationship? I know oftentimes couples will create goals together and try to grow together, but it's so important to maintain your individuality and make sure that your partner is helping you achieve the goals that you want to achieve individually and vice versa. And the last one, if you weren't in love with the idea of being with him, would you still be in this relationship? A lot of times we're still in it because we've just invested so much and it's like, look, I'm leaving here with something. But honestly, do you just like the idea of the relationship, or do you actually enjoy being in the relationship? So many women forget who they are in the relationship because they're so busy trying to chase the end goal, which is the ring. But although I'm not married, I'm here to tell you that that's really just where the work begins. And now let's talk to my married women. We all know that marriage is work, and I cannot wait to have some wives on the podcast to really dive in and help the single girls, including myself, understand what it really takes. You always hear marriage is work, marriage is work, marriage is so hard. It's like, well, girl, what's so hard about it? I think when you're not in it, it's very easy to romanticize the idea of being married, but everyone knows that your single time is when you actually have the freedom, you actually have the time to love yourself the most because your attention is not divided or focused on anyone else. So I'm here to remind you again, my single girls or my girls in a relationship, you always got to love yourself first because at the end of the day, you're all you got. So don't get distracted. Obviously, we want to pour into the people that we love, but it's so important to pour into yourself first. I want to talk about safety and love really quick because we hear it thrown around so much. And I think that, we think, oh, my man's going to protect me if someone breaks into the house, or, I'm going to be walking down the street and he's going to be closest to, the cars passing, and I'm going to be on the inner side of the sidewalk. And while that safety is great, for me, the emotional safety of dealing with someone is so important. There's so many times where you're in a situation and you just don't feel safe to even speak up for yourself. And who wants to be in a relationship where you can't even speak your mind or feel like you're have a safe space to talk about things that are affecting you? I think so many times we make excuses for people of why they're not really emotionally intelligent, or why you can't talk to them about this, or, oh, this is a trigger for them. I'm here to tell you that you need to be able to have safety in all areas of life with whoever you're dealing with. Emotional safety, physical safety, sexual safety. It's so important to create a safe space in your relationships. So ask yourself, sis, am I really happy, or am I just here? And again, this is not a podcast to get anyone to break up with a man. I promise that is not what I'm here to do. But I am here to let you know that self-love is the best love, and it should honestly be your number one priority, because at the end of the day, who got you? You. So sis, whether you're single, dating, healing, or in a relationship, I want you to know that your self-love is always going to be the number one priority. So let's get into what it really takes to love yourself. You have to know your worth outside of a relationship. Part of self-love is knowing that you are enough on your own. Anybody who comes into your life is just an added bonus. They are literally the cherry on top. Stop betraying yourself to keep the peace. I just spoke about having a safe space in your relationship. And if you don't have that, create it. And if someone doesn't want to give you a safe space, that's all you need to know. But don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. And the last one, make your happiness a priority. It is no one's responsibility but your own to create joy and happiness in your life. Sis, relationships are beautiful, but they do not define you. It's so important that you make sure you're constantly checking in with yourself, making sure that you're happy, and ultimately getting what you deserve. And sometimes that changes. A lot of times, who you were at 18 when you met this person and who you are at 25 or 30 or 35 is totally different, and that is okay. You want people in your life who are willing to evolve with you, go through all the seasons with you, all the changes with you. And if not, it's okay. It's okay to stand alone, but it's also okay to desire love. You are enough. You are worthy. You deserve love. And that love starts with yourself. I hope my little self-love pep talk really got you going. Of course, Valentine's Day, it could be annoying, but I'm here to tell you, don't worry about it. It's just one day. But we are at my favorite part of the episode where I get to pick my sister vent of the week. And this one is kind of on brand. I want to talk about when people desire love and everyone tells them that they shouldn't. Or not that they shouldn't, but that they shouldn't rush it. They shouldn't romanticize it. And it's not that great and all these things. I think oftentimes, especially when you're single and you're talking to people who are in a relationship or who are married, they're like, don't make that your whole life. And that shouldn't be your main focus. And you should, focus on yourself. And it's like, sis, been single for a very long time. That's actually all I've been doing. And I'm the type of person, if I don't put my mind on it, I'll look up, I'll be 45, millions of dollars, single. Okay. For me, it has to be at the forefront or I just won't do it. I'm just wired that way. Very type A, very goal oriented. If not on my goal list, we're not getting it done. So I think for when people try to tell you like, oh, don't focus on that, focus on yourself, this is your time. While all that is true, I think is really important. If love is a desire of yours, you are allowed to express that. You are allowed to say it out loud. You are allowed to tell people your desires because honestly, closed mouths don't get fed, okay? If nobody knows you're out there looking, if no one knows that you really want a partner, they might have someone great for you, but they didn't know you were looking. Or they might not even think that was a big priority for you and then say, hey, I want to help this girl out. She's a great girl. Let me see if I can find anybody. Or they may meet someone, they're talking to someone, they're like, oh my God, you know what? You would be perfect for that person. But I think sometimes we're just taught to not really talk about our desires. And then there's a flip side where everyone feels like we talk about relationships all the time. But I think we talk about what we want from the other person, but I don't think we get to talk about how we really feel and why we want what we want. As someone who grew up with my parents who've been married almost 35 years, I always thought it was going to happen for me. I never thought that dating would be hard. I thought that it would be so easy. It was just going to happen. And I realized I don't really have the tools to get from point A to point B when it comes to this whole marriage thing that I thought I did. Because again, I just saw it happen versus a lot of people didn't see it happen. They don't really believe in love and marriage the way I do. And I'm just like, I thought everybody was in a happy, loving marriage. What's going on? What's happening? So I think a lot of times, we don't get to talk about that side of it of how you just always thought it was going to happen for you. And because that's all you know. All you know is marriage. And it's not happening, or at least it hasn't happened. Because I won't say it's not happening. It's going to happen for all of us. But then there's also just the reality of everyone doesn't get a husband. So there's that. I'm not saying that's our reality, but that is a reality that I think a lot of times, you sometimes do have to come to terms with. But either way, I wanted this sister vent to be a safe space for those girls who really do desire love and companionship, because although I do believe in, self-love, and I think is really important, that's step one, right? That's the basis. But once you've covered that desire for companionship, that desire to be a wife and a mother, is real. And I think it's a valid emotion. And I think that while maybe you shouldn't wear it on your sleeve, every post doesn't have to be about how you want a man. But I think it's fair to be able to vocalize that is something you want. Words are powerful, and to be able to believe that you deserve it and you will eventually get it. But that comes with loving yourself and knowing that you can't let people treat you any old which way, okay? You have to set the tone for how you want to be treated and how people should deal with you. So to every woman listening, this is your reminder. You are the prize. So act like it. All right, sis, that's it for today's episode. If this episode hit home or you feel like you have a sister who may need it, make sure you send this episode to them. Also, if you loved it, rate the podcast, 5 stars, of course, only, or leave us a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and like this episode. And of course, follow us on social media at Sistervention Podcast. And I know I got a lot of homework for you guys to do today. Make sure you send us some DMs. I want to start my little advice segment and help you guys out, okay? Because if you need a sistervention, that is why I am here. So if you're spending Valentine's Day with your boo or alone, remember, you are loved, you are worthy, you are the prize, so act like it. Until next time, I'm your host, Crystal Chanel, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.